Thank you for listening to Scandinavian Crimes Podcast. Be sure to check out the episode links and be part of our other social media platforms where you can leave a topic suggestion or even share some of your insights regarding the subject matter of the episode. We will always do our best to provide a well-researched episode, but sometimes due to limited access to information and translation issues, some information can be lost. It is therefore good to do your own research and get a deeper understanding of a case of your own interest. So with that all said, let us start today's episode.
Welcome to Scandinavian Crimes. My name is Devante, and say hello to my lovely co-host, Delila.
Hi.
Your facial expression was hilarious. So in this podcast, as you know, we talk about famous Scandinavian criminals who made their mark throughout Scandinavian history. So, interestingly enough, today is going to be a very interesting, well, I wouldn't say interesting. I'm going to pick a new word.
Intensive?
Mind-boggling case.
Okay.
This case involves someone called Virpi Butt,
Oh my God.
who was formerly recognized as a TV gladiator in Timantti and was sentenced to life imprisonment basically for murder with Janne Hyvönen. I hope I said that correctly. Earning infamy as like this dismemberment instead of killers of Pirk-kala. So this story is kind of like all over the place, like a little bit, not like all over the place in terms of like the writing itself. I just mean like it's wild. It's a wild ride. So I think you guys really would want to just listen in on the names and some of the details, because this is told from obviously multiple people's accounts, and you'll find out why in some parts it may feel a little all over the place. But you already know the usual. Come on now. You're back on the podcast. Grab your tea. Grab your snacks. If you're on a train or bus, tuck yourself into that little back corner of the train or the bus where, no one's really sitting, and, just so you can get a really nice vibe as we discuss the story of the cannibalists and murderers, Virpi Butt and Janne Hyvönen. Many who knew Virpi Butt in the early 90s recalled her as a quiet and reserved person. She was relatively sober without any noticeable aggression or excessive drinking habits. Virpi, taking part in MTV's Gladiators TV show during 1993 and the 1994 season, portrayed her as almost like a background character. Despite being in close quarters during filming, Virpi remained distant and didn't share much about herself. Virpi's demeanor began to change towards the end of the decade. She gained notoriety in Tampere's bars for her confrontational behavior towards men. Not soon after, Virpi's criminal record indicates a deepening spiral of misconduct in the late 90s and early 2000s, culminating in serious charges of drunk driving in 2002 and involvement in murders of Arto Malinen and Kari Antonin. On the eve of Midsummer in 2003, Janne Hyvönen, a friend of Virpi, took care of Virpi's 3-year-old child while she went out to get alcoholic beverages for the celebration. During her outing, Virpi crossed paths with Arto Malinen, a 26-year-old man also celebrating Midsummer. They spent the evening drinking at a bar until closing time, then proceeded to Arto's apartment in Pirk-kala before going to meet a friend of Virpi, Maria, the next day. The following day, the group continued their festivities and the drinking spree at another bar until they were asked to leave due to Virpi's prior ban from the establishment. Arto became increasingly intoxicated, prompting Virpi to suggest going back to Arto's apartment. The grim chain of events unfolded when a young man named Junu accompanied the group to buy drugs from Arto. When the anticipated drug stash was nowhere to be found, Junu was disgruntled and demanded compensation for his wasted trip. This triggered a heated argument between everyone except for Maria. In the midst of the confrontation, Arto asked for both Virpi and Junu to leave his apartment. Junu felt unsafe being in the presence of Virpi and Arto during the argument and fled, navigating through the streets alone and scared. However, for Virpi, this triggered a physical altercation that culminated in Arto being stabbed and left in a fetal position on the floor, pleading for medical assistance. Suffering from his injuries, it ended with Virpi stabbing Arto 10 more times in the back with a kitchen knife. Virpi continued her violent assault on Arto in the bathroom, ultimately slitting his throat. She then contacted Janne, and together they dismembered Arto's body and stole whatever possessions he had. Virpi first stripped Arto naked before decapitating him and disposed of his organs in a bag, a bucket, and a toilet to prevent an odor. Janne removed the victim's fingertips to hinder identification. They also attempted to crush Arto's head with a car in the backyard, but were unsuccessful as he kept slipping to the side. Virpi forced Maria to stay and babysit the children while they cleaned up. Maria, who had been present during the harrowing events, tried to escape on multiple occasions but was terrified, fearing she might meet the same fate as Arto. When she finally managed to leave, she was initially too scared to report the murder to the police. However, she eventually did, leading to the arrest of Virpi and Janne. As the night transitioned into Midsummer's Day, the police emergency center received peculiar calls. Callers reported a gruesome murder and dismemberment in Pirk-kala the night before. Initially, the police didn't take the first call seriously, as the informant claimed to have heard it through hearsay. However, when Maria called in asserting she witnessed the events surrounding the death, the seriousness of the situation became very apparent. Afterwards, Arto's remains were discovered in Nokia. It was a night in Pirk-kala that left even the authorities astounded. The investigation into Arto's death also uncovered the murder of Virpi's ex-boyfriend, Kari Antonen, who had vanished more than a year prior. Kari was a 29-year-old programmer from Mikkeli, who had moved to Tampere for studies and employment. He had previously been in a long-term relationship that ended around 2001-2002, leading to a depression and increased alcohol consumption. Eventually, he began dating Virpi, with whom he had acquainted since at least 1994. One evening, Kari, Virpi, and Janne were at the Sputnik restaurant in Tampere. Eventually, they all went back to Virpi's apartment, where in the early hours of the morning, Janne fatally stabbed Kari in the back. After the murder, Janne and Virpi cleaned the apartment of bloodstains and the body was moved to the bathroom. The gruesome murder occurred in Virpi's residence with two of her underage children present, a 2-year-old boy who slept in the same room where Kari was murdered, and a 16-year-old boy who initially slept but later witnessed the scene in the room. Janne began reaching out to his friends for help. Removing the body necessitated a vehicle, but none of his friends were eager to assist. Soon, Janne conceived an idea of dismembering the body and retrieved the necessary tools from his apartment in Tampere. The first step was to sever the head, an idea that originated from Virpi. Janne sawed Kari's head off while Virpi held the severed head. They proceeded to cut the body up, including removing tattooed pieces and fingertips. Janne severed Kari's leg, seasoned them with spices and salt, then cooked and consumed the meat. Virpi refrained from participating in the cannibalistic act, but later offered Kari's meat to an acquaintance, saying it was pork chops. The remaining dismembered body parts were stashed in a cardboard box on the balcony due to the smell. Afterwards, Virpi showed Kari's head to others, boasting what they had accomplished. Janne eventually placed Kari's head in a pot to fry, observing as Kari's expression distorted. The following morning, Janne contacted a friend to transport some garbage boxes to various trash cans across Tampere. Initially, Virpi and Janne wanted the boxes taken further to Nokia, but the driver refused. Despite claiming not knowing the content of the boxes, the driver was later charged as an accessory to the crime. Kari's body was disposed of in the trash, and despite extensive efforts by the police, the body was never recovered. During the day of the trial in Tampere District Court, Janne appeared in court with the victim's clothes. Both Virpi and Janne underwent mental evaluations, which determined them to be mentally fit for trial. Lead prosecutor Joko Nurminen confronted them, observing their indifferent demeanor. During the prosecutor Joko's introduction of the victims' cases, Janne and Virpi erupted into laughter. From the outset of the court proceedings, it's evident that the perpetrators show little remorse for their actions. Meanwhile, the victim's parents fought back tears, feeling the weight of the situation deeply. Prosecutor Joko emphasized that both murders were committed without a rational motive. He mentioned several key points regarding the actions and that both defendants displayed reckless and gleeful behavior. There were several witnesses who testified in court. However, Maria was a key witness. She testified expressing fear, particularly regarding Virpi. Maria stated in court, "It had been very difficult for me to recall the events accurately due to my deep shock." As Arto went to the bathroom, Maria went to prepare another drink. Upon returning, she found Arto curled up on the floor, seemingly injured. Initially, she expected Junu of the assault, but when Arto pleaded for medical assistance, Virpi adamantly refused. At that moment, Maria knew it was Virpi. Moments later, unwilling to witness further violence, Junu departed. Maria attempted to leave, but Virpi forbade her. Feeling trapped, Maria retreated to the kitchen. Eventually, Virpi instructed Maria to tend to her children. Fearing for her life, Maria hastily departs, with Virpi threatening her to be silent about the murder. Prosecutor Joko characterized Virpi as a mixed substance user, known to consume narcotics, sedatives, alcohol, and even hormones. In court, Virpi denied being a mixed substance user, but admitted to experimenting with narcotics and anabolic steroids. Virpi claimed her violent behavior came from a hormonal imbalance caused by the use of her anabolic steroids in the 1990s. She used steroids to build muscle, claiming it was common practice back then. When asked for leniency based on this argument, the court rejected her plea. When Virpi testified, she appeared quite nonchalant and detached as she recounted the events. However, when it came to the murder, she explained in graphic detail how she assaulted Arto. Virpi claimed to have tried to intervene in the altercation when Arto appeared to be restraining Junu's head and repeatedly striking it against the wall. Subsequently, Virpi retrieved a long-bladed knife intending to de-escalate the situation, and the initial stab penetrated deeply, causing Arto to remove the knife himself and collapse onto the floor. Virpi, allegedly in a state of shock, continued to strike the victim multiple times on the back. When asked about Carrie's head, Virpi recounted bringing the victim's head to the cabin in a bag. Initially, she stooped by the pub for a drink and shared news of the victim's death with an acquaintance. When her story was doubted, she offered the head as evidence. According to Virpi, she showed Carrie's head to others with the intention of revealing and alerting the police of the crime. She hoped someone would report the incident to the authorities because she couldn't bring herself to do it. She feared that the murder would make her lose custody of her children. However, despite feeling burdened by the situation, Virpi did not report it to the authorities. However, according to Prosecutor Joko, Virpi took the head as a trophy, showcasing it to others as a symbol of victory. Virpi had boasted in restaurants that she exhibited Carrie's head, though no one seemed to take her seriously. Soon after Carrie's disappearance, rumors began circulating implicating Virpi as a perpetrator. There were tales suggesting that Virpi had boasted about displaying Carrie's severed head. However, nothing was done about the situation. In court, Janne couldn't recall exactly how the sequence of events unfolded due to them all being intoxicated. He didn't recall any specific details until he attacked, murdered, and dismembered Carrie. He graphically told what unfolded in the apartment to the court. Janne recounted the chilling act of frying the victim's head, admitting to relishing in the disturbing transformation of the victim's expression. When questioned by Prosecutor Joko about why he fried the victim's head, Janne's response was, quote, "A bizarre impulse. I placed it in the pot until it was full," end quote. When asked about his laughter during the ordeal, Janne clarified the following, quote, "I chuckled when I witnessed its changing expression. It seemed to be smiling," end quote. Janne and Virpi to compensate the victims' families with over 100,000 euros each and sentenced them both to life imprisonment. Junu was charged for failing to report the crime to authorities. The Helsinki Court of Appeal accepted Virpi's parole request in August 2017, setting her release for late 2018 after approximately 15 and a half years in prison. Despite the criminal sanctions institute and the psychiatric prison hospital opposing her release due to the high risk of reoffending, the Court of Appeal noted positive factors such as Virpi's strong family ties and housing arrangements, indicating potential for successful reintegration into society. Virpi was released December 3rd, 2018, followed by Janne on March 1st, 2019. After her release, Virpi changed her name and moved to Turku in West Finland, working for a national company. She married in the later years of her life, but her ex-husband filed for divorce in June 2021. The divorce did not proceed as Virpi died in November 2021 while in Ghana. Her cause of death remains unknown. Prosecutor Joko, in his extensive career, confesses to never have encountered a murder as gruesome as this one. The dismemberment murders involved nauseating details, evoking fear throughout the trial. Virpi and Janne were regarded as extremely dangerous, causing one witness to demand their absence during the testimony for their own safety. The dismemberment murders in Tampere and Pirk-kala are destined to be etched in Finnish criminal history as among the most gruesome acts of violence.
So, just before we start with the whole discussion, I want to clarify some things, which could be a bit misleading and, some people might not, be confused about what was told. So, it's not really super clear what exactly happened in detail, even though the main events are kind of the same. There's some small details that is pretty crucial in this case, and I just wanted to clarify this. So Maria said that Janne left after Arthur was in a fetal position, while Virpi said that Janne was there during the whole stabbing incident, but Janne himself said he left before even anything became physical. And he could have said that because he didn't want to be part of anything that happened. We don't know. So what I did was I used Janne's word in the storytelling, and I decided to add Maria's and Virpi's versions in the trial period because they were, retelling what happened. And because they were all heavily intoxicated and Maria also being in shock, made it hard for me to pick and understand and know, what really happened. But that's how investigations are, everything is based on evidence and witnesses, testimonies and everything. And the case, the case is based on that, and people get sentenced based on that information. So, I think I just wanted to clarify that it's not really clear what happened, but I thought that every detail and every different point is still relevant to know. So yeah, okay. And I just wanted to say that I think it's interesting that Virpi and I keep messing up Janne and Janne, but
yeah,
they're so close to each other. Yeah, but either way, Virpi and Janne's they keep saying I don't remember, I was very intoxicated, and still they remember the details of the whole attacking and the murders in detail, and they laugh about it. So I'm just a bit, I don't know, I just think it's weird how that works. But either way, let's talk about Virpi.
Yes, let me start the conversation with Virpi.
Yeah, Virpi is very interesting.
Wow, I said, I'm going to start the conversation, then you can.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that you said that. I'm sorry. Wow. Okay, you can start with the Virpi. My bad.
So Virpi is very interesting, in terms of, she obviously displays a very sociopathic, tendencies, very detached. Also, she's very calculated, because the fingertip thing, that's high level planning in terms of murder, and usually trying to prevent forms of identification, which when you think about it in court terms, if they can't prove the identity of the person, they can't prove that you're tied to that person, which means she was thinking about this stuff. So I'm like, was she really that intoxicated? Because that's a well thought out.
Not only Virpi, but Janne as well.
Yeah, that's a very well thought out, plan. Now, like I said, it wasn't perfect, probably because they were some level intoxicated, and but also I think what really kind of screwed them over was the fact that they were bragging. So if they would have did that and then didn't say anything.
I mean, Virpi was the one bragging though.
Yeah, I think like if they didn't say anything, Virpi didn't say anything, I think it was, at least they would have had more time to at least not be in custody. But that's what I'm saying. That was actually a well thought out plan.
I think you're tripping right now, because like, even though Virpi went out to the bar and bragged about Carrie being in the bag and the head being in the bag, they never got caught for Carrie's case. They got caught because Maria was the witness. But even though the rumors were there, nobody did anything. So, they never got caught anyways.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, basically Maria, even if Maria would have called in, I'm not saying they wouldn't have been like suspected, but they wouldn't have been arrested as quickly because there would have been nothing actually tying them into the murders directly. That's what I'm saying, basically. Maria was ultimately their downfall, for sure. Absolutely. But I'm just thinking about the process in which they're like, oh yeah, let's cut off the fingertips. Let's take off anything that identifies. It was even cutting off tattoos for, I think, Carrie or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's high level. That's someone who's really thinking of like, I need to get away with this. I need to take out all identifying markers, dismember the body, spread the body out in multiple locations, and then some piece, they were never even able to recover the body fully in the first place for Carrie's murder. So I'm like, that's highly thought out. And that's actually really that's actually decently thought out. So I'm like, that's actually very scary, because then this tells you she was not truly intoxicated, at least the way that, they try to make it seem like.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts on it.
I think it's like she was trying to make herself look like a victim and less bad. And I feel like she blamed most of the circumstances on Janne or other things. So, for example, she mentioned the hormonal imbalance thing and like, yeah, because of that, it makes me more aggressive. But like, a lot of people have hormonal imbalances, and not all of them go and kill people because they're mad. So I think that like she was trying to use that as an excuse.
But just to add on to what you're saying, if she really was taking like anabolic steroids, there's recorded information that
I know
it can cause you to like lash out like that. So it's possible that, like I said, possible. I'm not excusing because I don't know and I wasn't there. But it is entirely possible she was taking anabolic steroids for a long period of time that can mess with your head and your body, because even some dudes end up on it and then you can be like, oh, good morning, what did you say to me? And the next thing you know, they just go out of control. So it's entirely possible.
Yeah. And like, I just think it's weird that she's like, using that, but I also know that steroids can do that to you, and also the effects of it in long-term uses. But another thing that she mentioned was like, I was trying to de-escalate the situation by stabbing Arto, right. And then I'm stabbing more in shock. I was like, huh?
That's such a dumb argument. I'm trying to help you stab. I'm trying to help you stab.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, what? Like, okay, I guess you're shocked, but like, to de-escalate, you used a knife. I don't know about that. You're escalating the situation because now you're threatening someone's life, which means only two things are gonna happen: fight or flight. Yeah, I guess so. But it's just like, I just thought it was weird. And another thing she also did in the court was like, she was trying to distance herself from the crime and like portraying Janne as the bad person. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, I think it was weird because she was deliberately walking around with a head, but she was saying that, oh yeah, I was trying to do that for people to report me and report us, and I didn't want to report it myself because I didn't want to lose custody of my children. And I'm like, you will lose.
You was gonna lose
the custody
regardless.
anyways. Like, even if you say it or not, like, there was no way it would have even been less if you did self-report it. But you would have lost the children either way, and I don't think you cared about the children. You know.
Yeah, it seemed like she wasn't really there anyway. She was over here having people babysit while she was out drinking.
Well, I think she murdered Carrie in the same room as the kids.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, how to induce trauma to the kids. If you really care about them, I don't think that's the best. I think, you know, I don't know. It's a very, I feel like she was using excuses to make her look less bad and kind of like distancing herself from, and kind of make herself look like a victim in a way.
Well, that's why I say, like, there's something off about her, because she probably thought that was very, like, whatever. And obviously the court behavior kind of displayed that. And the fact that
she was
like,
also
oh, yeah,
laughing and everything.
Yeah, I'm like, there was, I think,
you're not doing it better for yourself.
Yeah, there was something on, like, she didn't understand the emotional gravity of the situation on a couple situations, which is why I think, like, she's showing very, you know, sociopathic kind of behaviors and stuff like that. But I don't know, that's just me, because I'm like, in reality, why would you think? And I think one of her kids was what, 16 at the time?
Yeah, one was 2 and one was 16.
I was like, that's damn near an adult. So I'm like, yeah. You showed an adult what was going on, and then they knew everything. So yeah, it's very crazy. Like I said, she didn't understand the emotional gravity of it. She didn't have empathy. She did have some level of manipulation.
That, like, testimonies says that, you know, kind of that Virpi has some type of hatred towards men, because she was usually violent, and her outburst was targeted towards male individuals. And eyewitnesses kept, you know, saying that Virpi was always like hurting men or forcing, like, punching them, or like doing, like, being aggressive towards men. So maybe she just had something, like, she was, you know, maybe that's why she trusted Maria and didn't really like other men. I don't know.
Her right-hand man was a guy.
Yes, we will actually come to that. That is actually an interesting
I'm like,
notation
you hate
right
men,
there.
But then the person you relied on the most was a guy. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
There's a reason for that, because they have actually said that they see each other as siblings, and that they are like really good friends, and they are known each other for like 4 to 5 years, and they like think alike. So maybe Janne also was like some type of sociopathic, like thinking similar to Virpi, because who would be like,
who would fry
hey,
up
Janne,
a head
help
and
me,
be like, delicious,
and then be like, let's dismember this guy and eat their flesh.
So she just so happened to find someone who thought just like her, which probably made her, oh, you're different in her head, you know, kind of situation. But they both displayed the traits, at least. Like I said, they had no empathy, impulsive behavior, because even the way he described the way he fried the head, it was just an impulse. So something that he just felt like he had to do. And just like
I actually read more into that, though, because it was more like him feeling he had power over Kari.
I mean,
that
probably
he was, like, strong, and like I was able to eat him and fry his head, and, you know, it was like a power trip thing.
It's definitely a part of it for sure. But even then, like, the way in which the thought came into his head was very impulse-like, where it's just like, ooh, I have this power. Like, it just came out of nowhere kind of situation. And then he did it. He acted on that thought. Because you can think things all the time, but you don't act on it.
Like, you don't go and just do whatever you think.
Like whatever pops into your head. If that was the case, I would be sitting here.
But, you know,
intrusive thoughts would destroy the planet, you know? Exactly. So I'm just like, he just had no impulse control, and he literally followed an impulse off rip. Yeah, same for her as well. And using intelligence or charm to manipulate people, which, you know, that's what got her in that situation in the first place with the drugs and going to someone's apartment, because he was basically a stranger. And she was able to do that and that's how they got into that situation. So yeah, they show all the telltale signs of being, sociopaths. And, it's just crazy to me, So when I hear stuff like, especially cannibalism, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, because I was trying to understand, I was like, why did they murder Kari? What did he do? Because, he was obviously together with Virpi, so I thought that Janne maybe was, jealous because maybe he liked Virpi or something. Mm-hmm. But no, they view each other as friends and siblings, and, that was it. But there are theories as to why Janne did it. And it was because Janne was jealous of Virpi. It's not really clear why he was jealous. He said he was jealous, but it wasn't clear if it was Kari or Virpi. Everybody says different things. Because some people say that, Janne killed Kari because he was jealous of the relationship. But some people say that he was jealous of Virpi because she was so strong and so strong-willed, and he was very, inspired and very awed about that, and that's why he felt like he wanted to be this powerful person and kill Kari and eat him up. So it's not really clear why, but he was jealous, but it's not really everybody has their theories about why.
Yeah, I just want to know why she hated men, because maybe something happened in her childhood.
If you think about it, she was trying to be very strong and muscular, and maybe she wanted to have that power.
Maybe I want to take a leap
couldn't
of faith
really
here.
achieve that because men has this physical advantage.
I want to feed off what you just said. Maybe she wanted to be a man.
I mean, it could be.
Maybe she really wanted to, because it seemed like she did everything she could to be physically, like you said, in that situation. But then it's also very odd how she died. They got a divorce and she died in Ghana by unknown circumstances. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't think the relationship was gonna last anyway. But I don't know. I don't know what to say in regards to why she did what she did. We don't have the information, but I do find this interesting because this is kind of where that hatred can get you. And I'm speaking very general, not just specifically towards a man or a woman or whatever like that. I'm just speaking very in general. Sometimes misguided hatred can cause a lot of damage. And I think everyone should do some self-reflection.
But also, I want to add some things that I didn't really include in the script. But she usually was aggressive to people who was constantly annoying her in a way where they kept catcalling or forcing themselves on her and stuff like that. So it could have been stuff like that as well. I didn't add it in the script because I didn't have any space to put there. But that happened as well, that she could be okay, stop being don't force yourself on me. And then because of that, she might have been viewed as aggressive in the bar or whatever. But, it's not really clear because nobody has any evidence. Everybody was intoxicated. It's hard to determine. But that's what I've read here and there as well.
Okay. Well, you have anything else to say, my dear?
I think I am done.
Okay. Well, let us know what you guys think. This is a very interesting case. A lot going on.
Actually. Mm-hmm.
And we would love to know what you guys are thinking and feeling about this case in particular. And I hope you enjoyed it. Let's end the podcast on a nice positive note. Food.
Ramen.
You said hummus.
Ramen.
Oh. It's funny, I was thinking about ramen.
Hummus
yesterday.
is good too. I don't mind that either. Oh my god. Yeah, you don't like chickpeas. Yeah, okay.
All right, so ramen for you. I think I will go for some lamb.
Okay. With?
A little bit of that. It's a spot of the house called Curry King.
Rice?
And they have like the lamb with some basmati rice and, you know, very good. But
sounds yummy.
I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And if you did, please be sure to leave us a nice little 4 or 5 star review, depending on your podcasting platform of preference. And we will see you next time. Peace out.
Bye.